What's going on, guys? Welcome to Inside the Horseshoe. My name is Matt. And this offseason, the Colts, they got some work to do. There's some positions that they have to address. So, what I decided to do was make a video letting you guys know what I would do if I was Chris Ballard and that Colts front office. Now, before I get into it, if you're new, if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate if you click that subscribe button, click the bell icon, that way you're notified when I upload a video or when I go live. If you like the video, smack the like button and leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If there's not a position that I talked about, let me know which one you would address in the comments down below. So again, we got a few positions that we got to figure out what we're going to do, right? Like the Colts, they got to figure it out. Are we going to bring back certain players? Are we going to draft guys? Are we going to bring in guys from free agency? What are we going to do? Colts got to figure that out. I'm going to tell you what I think they should do. Now, we're going to start off with quarterback. And look, we got our starter. We got Richardson. We got Ellinger, who's going to be our third string. Who's our backup? Is it going to be Gardner Minshew? Is it going to be another quarterback from free agency? Is it going to be somebody from the draft? Me personally, I would draft a quarterback. I would draft the backup quarterback day 2, day 3. Don't use your first round pick or second round pick on a quarterback. That'd be stupid. Look at round 3, round 4, maybe round 5, something like that. There's going to be guys like Jordan Travis that will fall. Michael Pratt, Taluya Tungaviola is another guy who I like from Maryland as well. So there's going to be guys in the draft that you can get later on, round 3, round 4, that I think would be good backup quarterbacks. Now, I think they're going to re-sign Gardner Minshew. That's just my guess, and I think it's going to be like a 3 to 5, maybe $6 million deal. It's not going to be anything crazy, and I won't be upset if they bring back Gardner Minshew. I won't be upset at all. I'll be fine because I like Minshew. But what I would do is I would just draft a quarterback personally. Just make it clear to Anthony Richardson, hey, you're a guy. We're just getting your backup. Um, I don't think you have an issue with it, but still, I would just say, hey, just let you know, this is what we're doing. No need to worry. I would draft, but they're going to bring Minshew back. I'm pretty confident about them bringing him back. Now we're going to move on to running back. You got Jonathan Taylor locked up. You got to figure out who your backup's going to be. Um, Odds are you're not going to have Zach Moss back. Unless he's like, fine, I'll stay in Indianapolis for a few $1,000,000. Not going to happen. You're going to have to figure out who's your backup, right? Me personally, I'm drafting. I'm not signing a running back in free agency because honestly, there's not really a running back I would go after. It's just me personally. If you can get Audric Estime, I think that'd be best case scenario. But honestly, this is not a position that I'm like really freaked out about because you got Evan Hull, who maybe could be a backup running back. I would give him an opportunity if the right guy is not available in the draft, but that's how I would address that position personally. I would just draft it. I wouldn't sign a guy in free agency. All right, so now let's talk about wide receiver. Obviously, in my opinion, this is a need. You got to bring back Michael Pittman Jr. You don't bring him back, it's going to be pretty bad, I think, for this offense. Because, again, I think Richardson needs a number 1 receiver. So I think he will be re signed. I should say, I'm recording this on Monday night. So if he is franchise tagged on Tuesday, which would have been yesterday, sorry, I don't know the future. Okay, I'm not Madam Web. But I do think he's going to be re-signed, whether they use the franchise tag and then get a contract done with him, or they just get a contract done without using the tag. I think they're going to bring him back. But I still think they need one more receiver. I like Alec Pierce. I'm still confident that he's going to be good for us. I know some Colts fans not as confident. However, I thought as he was being targeted more last year, he was showing a lot of promise. And I think with Richardson back, he's going to get a lot of deep balls, man. Richardson loves the deep ball, man. He loves it. And I think Alec Pierce is going to benefit from it. So I think Pierce is going to have a good year. I love Josh Downs. I've been high on him since he was at North Carolina. I think the potential's there. I really, really like him. But I think one more. Let's give Richardson one more weapon. And I would honestly bring in a receiver in the draft. Now, there are good receivers in free agency, right? T. Higgins, Mike Evans, guys like that. However, those type of players are going to require number 1 receiver money to bring them to Indianapolis. Okay, T. Higgins, he's going somewhere. He's making $20-some million a year. Mike Evans, he's going to want to make 20 something $million a year. I'm not signing one of those guys to a 20 plus $million per year contract when Michael Pittman is going to get a 20 million plus per year contract. I'm just not doing it. I'm not paying two receivers in one offseason 20 something $million per year. I'm just not doing it at all. So I'm drafting a receiver because it's going to save a lot of money, and I think you're going to get similar production from one of the guys you bring in via the draft. Roma Dunze could be available. I like him a lot. Did really, really good at Washington. You got Brian Thomas, who's raw, but he was from LSU and he had what, 17 touchdowns? Played 6 years of football. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential there because I think if you develop him and you develop him properly, I think he'd be very, very good as well. So that's another guy I would draft. I think the only way I wouldn't use that 15th pick on a receiver is if Brock Bowers becomes available because that's basically a receiver and a tight end body. Like you could throw out Jelani Woods and Brock Bowers, and you just put Brock Bowers in as a receiver, and you'll be fine. I would either use it on him or one of the top edge rushers. So other than that, wide receiver, I'm good with Brian Thomas. I'm good with Roma Dunze. If they want to trade back a couple spots and then take Keon Coleman, I'm perfectly fine with that too. But I do think you need to get your receiver in the draft. I think that's what they're going to do. It's a very good year for receivers. I think they're going to take advantage. Plus, give Richardson as many weapons as possible. Now let's move on to edge rusher slash outside linebacker. To me, I think this is a need addressed in a free agency. You know, there's some really, really good edge rushers that I think could be game changers. You know, guys like Brian Burns, Danielle Hunter. I believe that's how you say his first name, right? Is it Danielle? Danielle Hunter from Minnesota. I would take him for sure. Brian Burns, like I said, and then Josh Allen, who I think is very unlikely. But if you can get Josh Allen, who's coming off of a 19 sack season, give me him. Give me him. I would love that. Unlikely, but I would love it. And I will say this, I do expect one, two, maybe all three of those guys to get the franchise tag. If that happens, draft an edge rush, right? I would honestly draft one with the 15th pick. That Latuya kid from UCLA, Dallas Turner from Alabama. I think you can maybe trade back a couple spots and get Jared Verse, you know, either early 20s or late teens, depending on where you wanted to move to. So I would draft one of those guys, but I have a feeling there's a chance Colts they might just stick with who they have right now because they are coming off of a franchise record when it comes to sacks. I still think if you bring in a guy like Brian Burns, Daniel Hunter, Josh Allen, you put them on the opposite side of Samson Ebukam, the defensive line is going to be insane. I feel that way personally. Because imagine a defensive line. Let's just go into imagination land for a second, right? Imagine a defensive line that consists of Samson Ebukam, Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, Brian Burns slash Josh Allen slash Daniel Hunter. I mean, come on. And then you take Samson out and you put in Quiddy Pay or Dio. I mean, it's insane. So me personally, that's what I would do. I would sign one of those three guys, but if they're all, you know, signing elsewhere or they get the franchise tag, I would move on and I would look at a guy in the draft personally. Now let's move on to corner. Um, I would address it in the draft. I feel like I think I would address corner in the draft. You got a guy like Cam Hart who's going to be available. I really like Cam Hart. I thought he had a great year at Notre Dame this past season. Honestly, I thought he's been great at Notre Dame pretty much his entire career. I know some people were down the year prior on him, but they weren't targeting Cam Hart. You know, I thought he played better this year too. So, and he had a great Senior Bowl, you know, camp. I thought he was really good there as well. I would absolutely love to have Cam Hart, and you'll probably get him in the third round. I think you can draft him in the third round where you're at right now. I think you can get him, and I think he would make your secondary better. So I would take Cam Hart personally in the draft, or just a corner in general, a guy that can help you out because it's right now not a great group. It's an inexperienced group, sure, but I do think you need some. dudes in there, and I think a guy like Cam Hart can be a dude. Obviously, you got to bring back Kenny Moore as well. I think that's very, very important to get taken care of. Outside of that, I would think maybe a vet for like a cheap deal is kind of what I'm thinking. Stephon Gilmore is going to be available potentially. I think bringing him back would be really cool, and I think he might be open to returning because, as far as I understand, the relationship didn't end on a sour note. It ended on a good note. I think maybe he would be willing to come back because the team is playing better. The defense is playing really good football, even with Gus Bradley as the defensive coordinator. And I think he would go back and play because I think he'll have an opportunity to do some good things. But it's got to be cheap with him. I think the only guy I would bring in on a not cheap deal is a guy like Jalen Johnson. He's probably going to be available unless the Bears franchise tag him, which I think is possible. Um, I would bring him in, but outside of that, if you're going to look at free agency, get a vet for cheap, something like that. Like Stephon Gilmore, I think would be great. So that's what I would do at cornerback. And now let's move on to safety. Um, I think it depends what you do with Julian Blackman. I still think maybe bring in one more guy for sure, just to add competition. But I really think it depends what we do with Julian Blackman. Um, if they don't re-sign Julian Blackman, I would say draft a safety personally. If you're going to bring in a guy from free agency, somebody I would look at, assuming they would be willing to come on a lower end type of deal, is Eddie Jackson. That's more of like a depth piece backup that can come in when you need him to. Maybe he could even start for you. But outside of that, I'm looking at the draft personally to add another safety to it. So, yeah, so there you guys have it. That is what I would do with each position that I feel is something that we should probably look at and address. Again, thank you very much for watching. If you're new, haven't already, I would greatly appreciate if you click that subscribe button, click the bell icon so you're notified when I upload a video or when I go live. If you like the video, smack the like button. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, thank you very much for watching. I've been Matt Bleed Blue, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, make sure you watch one of these other two videos. They're cool. Also, if you're new, please click the subscribe button as well as the bell icon. I greatly appreciate your support.